proposition mentioned how important it is for small artists to be acknowledged, and yet here they are after 8-minute speech, not providing any solution on how these small artists gets good recognition. We stand against that. Few points of setup in these awards and recognition shows is that they are first mechanism is that that they are impactful. We have to realize that, and they are impactful towards providing recognition. Second point of mechanism, they provide good image, or at least an image for people. They provide good image for the most cases. Third point of mechanism is that they support small genres as well. There are categories for like small artists, indies artists, especially new artists, for example, and stuff. Right. And last point of mechanism is that we do have a few based on like say people watch and like or listen to certain art, but what we believe is that the main award system for artists should still be awards and recognition shows. Okay. Few points of rebuttals. First, awards and recognitions are proposition claims about how awards and recognitions are unfair because executive conflicts and how they basically say Oscars are a bit like slightly racist, and like how in like Grammys they have conflicts with executives, and in like Nicki Minaj where she ends up not getting the award because of conflicts. Problem is, these are cherry-picked cases, right? For example, Nicki Minaj, she picked up a fight with a lot of the winners in Oscars, and she put so much allegation towards Oscars. And even if you, contestants of these competitions, ends up like claiming the competition sucks and all that, of course you don't expect the same, say, level of treatment compared to other artists. Because of course what they took into account is your background, your controversies and whatnot. The one allegation they claim, one biggest allegation is how Nicki Minaj claimed that how Grammys is sexist and how the awards are male dominated. But problem is the genre she's working in are also a male dominated genre, and of course due to the statistic wise it will be a male dominated award, right? Second point of rebuttal about how proposition claim how that there are harm to people to artists that win because of bad image, and how like people will claim they don't deserve it. There will always be a narrative where people don't deserve certain rewards in all cases. It's not necessarily because of reputation of the competition, but it's also because like say the losers artist fan base will of course claim the winner artist fan base that okay they don't deserve it because they don't like the winner artist, right? This is not necessarily because of the reputation. Third point of argumentation: proposition claim on how like if artists want to win, they will repeat the strategy of the winners. This is not necessarily a bad thing, but one key problem in this argumentation is that when you have a world where people are judged by like the amount of views, the amount of popularity, like the amount of like their fans, people will of course still repeat this strategy of the winners. This is not necessarily a bad thing because of course when repeating strategy of winners, you still have to put your own twist for you to create a brand, right? Last thing is that recognition only exists in major artists. This is a claim may only benefit major artists. This is a claim proposition brought, but there is a problem to this is that there are categories for let's say for new artists, for small artists, and there are like local awards and and stuff like that. So now onto the first point of argumentation on how awards and recognition shows are of fair matrix instead of the people, right? First layer of argumentation: that there's always objectivity in art. We believe so. Just because art has its own subjective sides doesn't mean that there's no objectivity in it. For example, originality, creativity, impact, message, expression. These things are objective standards that awards and recognition shows will put into account when judging these artists, right? But what happens on the opposition side of the house? That there are no standards and they will be judged by the people. This will be on the same. But then as such, we believe this award is fair, just like a Nobel Prize, just like the Nobel Prize, which is like unexplained why proposition like don't stand against Nobel Prize and like, because, well, of course there's something similar. What's similar about that is that they provide impact, and there is still objectivity towards these towards the creations of the people. Right. Second level of implementation on how that on the opposition side, that people will, and on the proposition side, people will judge, will end up being the judge, because people are still judgy and arts will still be judged nevertheless. Right. We believe that if you reward artists based on the judgment of awards and recognition, it will have better outcome. First of all, if under proposition side of the house, artists will aim for attention because they will want they will want views and also that. But then these attentions doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. For example, rage bait, explicit sexual content, hate speech, shock value. These things provide attention, but isn't necessarily good. And these things doesn't exist under opposition side of the house, where shows and where awards and recognitions will judge them more objectively. But these things are awarded under a proposition side of the house. So, and that is the harm it brings. And so, when artists aim for awards, they have to appease this objective quality, which will of course lead to, say, a better outcome. So now onto the second point of argumentation about how recognition that isn't achieved under a proposition side of the house, right? In proposition side of the house, there is no reward, there's no official recognition. The problem is they claim they want to protect small artists, small genres, but they don't provide any recognition whatsoever, any form of recognition. They believe that the people will choose, and that's just the way it is. Right? Problem is, with no recognition, that means no branding. Branding is important to artists because why? They are the goal of artists, right? They want one important use of branding is that they can get out of labels, which provides them more, which provides these artists 100% profit instead of like sharing them with labels, right? What side opposition provides is that first, branding chances. They provide chances of recognition. So award shows provides chances of recognition even for small artists, even for small genres. Right. Second, second, it is an official record. It provides official record and it's a legacy. Because in any way, Grammy is considered, say, official by a lot of people. This brings historical significance. For example, old artists like there are a lot of old artists that you would have not known today if they had not gotten awards throughout their time, right? And last, it rewards people's hard work through hard work and how they keep their image. This is important. This is important because, of course, we can't. If you want to say protect these artists, we have to acknowledge them on how they provide good art, at least objectively good art, instead of attention-wise, of like how much attention their arts get. And that is why we believe, and that is why we oppose this motion. Thank you very much.